Hello, you're joining the State of Business with me, Nishani Figuera. Let's first take a look at tonight's headlines. President directs authorities to extend Vilpattu Sanctuary Zone and gazette accordingly. And shares of Melstar Corp listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange. In tonight's main story, President Maithripala Sirisena has directed the authorities to extend the Vilpattu Sanctuary Zone and declared it as a wildlife zone. The President's media division said that President also directed the authorities to gazette the extended zone. This afternoon, President in a Twitter message said that a team of experts was sent to investigate alleged deforestation in Mana district, including Vilpattu Sanctuary. Meanwhile, a group of representatives from the Vilpattu Surakime Sangvidhanaya visited the Ministry of Environment to lodge a complaint to the authorities about the alleged destruction taking place in Vilpattu. They had handed over a letter to the Ministry of Environment containing details. The environmentalists and civil organizations accused that the deforestation of Vilpattu Sanctuary and other protected areas in the Mana district is underway with the backing of certain politicians. Minister Ranjit Siyambalapitiya says the government will make every effort to provide uninterrupted electricity supply to the masses despite prevailing challenging weather patterns. He said 3 crucial cabinet papers will be submitted next week seeking required approvals. The Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy today felicitated a group of long-serving employees of the Ceylon Electricity Board. Minister Ranjit Siyambalapitiya was the chief guest.
ටිකක් අභියෝගාත්මක වර්ෂයකට තමයි තව දවස් දෙකකින් විතර මුහුණ දෙන්නේ. හේතුව ඊශාන දිග මෝසම අවුරුදු 10කට පස්සේ අඩුවෙන්ම සක්‍රිය වූ වර්ෂය. මේ තුන්වෙනිදා තියෙන කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට විශේෂ කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකා 3ක් අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. අපේ වගකීම ඉෂ්ට කරන්න විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයත් එක්ක. මොකද මේ රටේ අර මම කිව්වා වගේ මේ රටේ ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා හැම තත්පරයකම අඛණ්ඩ විදුලි සැපයීම. දැන් මේ නියග ගැන කිව්වා අවුරුදු 10කට පස්සේ තමයි යතේ එන්නේ. අපි ඒව ගැන සූදානම් වෙන්න. අවශ්‍ය ධෛර්යය අපි සතුව තියෙනවා.
The Director General of the Government Information Department, Dr. Ranga Kalansurya, says that the deadline to submit public views on media standards and entitlements will be extended until 31st of January 2017. The views are expected from the media organizations, owners of media institutions, trade unions, civil organizations, and from the academia. Those public views will be evaluated by an independent expert panel before the draft legislature is finalized. Some of the main objectives of the proposed law are to recognize media freedom and the right of the media, to gather and disseminate news and information, to engage in critical reporting on matters of public interest, and to participate in the process of forming public opinion. It will also make it a penal offence for anyone willfully to obstruct the legitimate collection of news and information by a journalist working for a media outlet. The new regulation will also put in place systems to promote the safety of journalists, and it will protect journalists' right to not to disclose their confidential sources of information. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching The State of Business. The shares of Melstar Corp Limited were listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange today. The shares were listed on the main board of the CSE. Speaking at the occasion, the chairman of the CSE, Vajrakula Tilaka, said that the listing of Melstar Corp shares was an auspicious ending to a not-so-favourable year to the market. The Distilleries Company of Sri Lanka plc, Balangoda Plantations plc and Browns Beach Hotels plc are subsidiaries of the Melstar Corp Group. Furthermore, CSE-listed conglomerate Aitken Spence plc and Madhusima Plantations plc are also associate companies.
I know from my early years in 90s, Distilleries was the star company for any foreigner to come to Sri Lanka. So that will also getting some listing or some exposure through this listing. On top of that, another darling of foreigners those days and today also, the Aitken Spence, because of tourism exposure, that will also get an opportunity for foreigners to get exposed to Aitken Spence. So more than that, there are other companies, plantations, telecommunication, etc., that will help to get into Sri Lankan economy through Melstar. So this will be a very attractive stock for international, local as fund managers as well as retail traders.
Melstar Corp Limited is a diversified conglomerate with its business interests spanning beverage, plantations, telecommunication, financial services and other diversified sectors. The shares will be listed under the diversified holdings sector.
We also have got a string of investments in many of the top corporates listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange. We have significant investments in banks and other companies, which we monitor and see that they are producing adequate return for Melstar Corp. One of the biggest challenges Melstar Corp would face in the years to come, of course, there are industries which are having peculiar problems like the plantation industries, having to negotiate wage deals and other factors, droughts, various things which affects the industry. Melstar Corp, the greatest challenge would be to blend the fusion of income that we got from different sources. Our main objective is to see that the income, the revenue from the non-alcoholic beverage sector becomes almost equal. So there is a proper blend of revenue streams, and that's what we'll be working towards in the years to come.
In more news tonight, the Census and Statistics Department says Sri Lanka's inflation recorded an increase in the month of December. Accordingly, the year-on-year inflation as measured by the CCPI is 4.1% in December, and the inflation calculated for November was 3.4%. The food group has increased from 2.9% in November to 3.8% in December, and that of a non-food group has also increased from 3.8% to 4.4% during this period. The moving average inflation rate for the month of December was 3.7%. The corresponding rate for the month of November was also 3.6%. Let's take a look at how the market performed after this break. Welcome back to the show. Trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange ended the year on a negative note today, with both indices recording losses. The all-share price index shed 17.45 points to close at 6,222.26, while the S&P SL20 slipped by 6.69 points to end 2016 at 3,496.44. Turnover for the day was 202 million rupees, while 7.2 million shares were traded. Up next are the day's forex rates. And now let's take a look at this week's dealing room update.
The Sri Lankan rupee continued to depreciate this week due to unusual year-end imported dollar demand. Rupee forwards were active, with one-week forwards quoting at 150.25 to 150.35 per dollar this morning. The forward premiums increased across the board during the week. The one-month premium was hovering at around 88 to 95 cents, while the one-year premium was hovering around 10 to 10.25 levels. On the international markets, the US dollar hit a 15-day low against the yen as traders used the quiet holiday period to take profits on the dollar's recent gain, while a drop in US Treasury bonds on risk appetite reduced the greenback's appeal. At the weekly Treasury bill auction held this week, the 3-month bill increased by 7 basis points to 8.72%, while the 6-month one-year bill increased by 2 basis points and 3 basis points to 9.63% and 10.17% respectively. The overnight core money and repo rates were stable this week. The core money rate stood at 8.40 to 8.44%, while the overnight repo rates were at around 8.48 to 8.50 levels this morning. The liquidity in the market was at a surplus of around 50 billion rupees on Thursday. The Treasury bond rates in the secondary market reduced slightly this week following the drop in rates in the Treasury bond auction held on the 27th of December. The 10-year bond maturing on the 1st of August 2026 was trading at 12.25 to 12.40 levels this morning.
And that brings the last edition of the State of Business for 2016 to an end. Thank you for being with us throughout the year. We'll see you again next year. Good night.